All right, it is live podcast time. Welcome to a Maize N Brew six-pack. I am Jared Stormer of MaizeNBrew.com. With me, as always, my hetero life mate, Andy Bailey, of the same place. Said we would go live this Thursday, despite the fact that there's no game, but doesn't mean we don't have things to say. There's takes to get off, and we'll be taking some questions in this episode. Got some in our mailbag. Those of you that sent them in via email, we got those. We'll get to those. Got a couple other agenda items that I wanted to touch on as well. We'll kind of let people join in here, and as you join, if you have any questions or comments, please throw them in there. We'll get to them. Andy, how you feeling, brother? How you feeling? It's bye week, a much needed bye week. I think we both agree.
Yeah, much needed. It's a good time to refresh, kind of catch our breath about the season. Perfect time for the team going through a quarterback change to have time to kind of adapt the offense, self-scout, get some improvement in. We have a great weekend of college football ahead of us, too.
Yeah. Will you be partaking full day, sun up, sun down, as one does?
I wish I could, my friend. Me, the guy who has college football as religion, has to attend a wedding. And unless I want to get divorced, I have to attend said wedding, but can watch on my phone because that's what we do. We find ways, we navigate through, pick our battles. I'm still going to be tuning in.
Wise man. This is why I always say keep your circle tight and your carry-on light. Stay nimble. And don't be having all these weddings of all these friends. Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. But nonetheless, still going to be tuning in for college football. Going to be a great Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Oregon, Ohio State. Who you got? Who you got in that one? 3.5-point favorites. Ohio State are going across the country, though. Would you say it was 1-7 for teams going that many time zones?
Yeah, 1-7 for Big Ten teams in conference going 2 or more time zones right now. But I think it's going to be 2-7, at least after this. I think Ohio State wins. I think they cover. My issue with Oregon is they can run the ball very well, but Ohio State stops the run very well. And that's going to force Dylan Gabriel to have to air it out more than he wants to. And he's just been very inconsistent this season within that offense. I think Ohio State's just going to slowly overwhelm them. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, but I could see Ohio State winning like 31-20.
Yeah, they'll keep it close. I don't think it'll be a blowout. The Autzen Zoo is aptly named, like a tough place to play. It gets loud there. So I'm excited for that environment. What's that?
Night game,
I believe
too, right?
So. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, they got that night game slot. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, Oregon wants to run the ball. I really like their running back, but I tend to agree. I'm picking Ohio State in that one. Might be betting it, but that also feels like sacrilege. So we'll see about that. All right. Let's get into these questions here. We're going to wait and see if these folks got in here, but we've got mailbag questions, and we're going to answer them here. So this first question from Anthony Doyle. If Michigan finds a way to vanquish the Buckeyes again this year, does crying Ryan Day lose his job? And then there's a second part to the question, but let's get to that first part. Where are you at, Andy?
So if Michigan, big if, finds a way to vanquish the Buckeyes again, I think it depends if that's Ohio State's only loss or not. If this were the college football playoff format of yesteryear, I think there's a high likelihood that he would be fired before Monday. But with the 12-team playoff, I can't foresee Ohio State having more than one loss. So even another loss, then they'd probably still be in the playoff and can make a run. But that said, if they lose to Michigan and still make the college football playoff, they have to win it all. Like, I don't think he would be necessarily fired if they don't then. But, I mean, the pressure would be – I mean, his seat would be in flames entering next season.
Yeah, I mean, we're sometimes critical of Michigan fans being too demanding or what have you done for me lately? Whole brother, Columbus is a whole different animal. Like they'll, even if they go 11-1 and make the playoffs, if they lose to Michigan, especially this Michigan team, I guarantee there will be a large and vocal subsect of that fan base that wants him gone.
Absolutely. And they brought in Chip Kelly for more than one reason. Like, it's kind of like, okay, well, here's plan B. Let's hand the team over to him. Now it remains to be seen what happens with who was their former OC that kind of got cucked by Chip Kelly? He's the wide receivers coach.
Oh, he was a former wide receiver himself, and it's not Dane Sanzenbacher. It is, oh my gosh, this is going to bug me.
Oh, Brian Hartline. There it is.
Hartline, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what would happen with him because I thought he would have been next in line, but after the OC, he is OC, he is an OC, will they, won't they thing last season, I think that's part of the reason they brought in Chip Kelly, to have another adult in the room and have a contingency plan.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It is kind of a weird coaching staff. Brian Hartline, I thought was kind of the OC in waiting, so we'll see what they do there. That being said, like you mentioned, big if we can find a way to beat this Ohio State team. Don't think we're going to be favored in that one. Second part of Anthony's question, level of concern for quarterbacks. We have another question about quarterbacks and the transfer portal, Anthony, so we will get to that in just a moment. Let's go ahead and keep it pushing. Next question from Brandon Blankenship. Where can I find Andy's game breakdown? Are they video, film breakdowns, written? What's going on? Andy, please tell us.
Heyo, you can find them on maizenbrew.com. You can find Michigan Film Study. This week was examining what's holding the Wolverines back. Just scrolling down the page now, you'll find that it was posted on, was that Wednesday? Yeah, today's Thursday. It was posted on Wednesday around 8 a.m. So find it on there. Then you can click my name. You can see everything I write on the site. Right now, it's mostly just those film studies once a week. So enjoy it. Had 3,200 ranting words this week with a lot of jokes and pot shots leveled at this Michigan team, but it was all in good fun. It was a fun breakdown to do.
I love it. They're very much written for you and I in the sense that it's like very specific to Michigan and movies from the late 90s to 2010s. Like,
yes.
It's
I mean, come on now. Like, I know my audience.
Wonderful stuff. And you'll learn some ball if you get in there. Great question from Brandon. Hey, yo, from Olivia. This is why Olivia's the GOAT. Busy week, lot going on. She rides for her man like Evie and the Mummy. Like she comes back for Rick O'Connell. A real one here. Looking ahead to next year, what positions would you like to see Michigan take advantage of in the transfer portal? Who are our ideal players to transfer in? And then there's second part to that question, but let's address the first part of this great question. Andy, I was kind of doing this math in my head and texted you anywhere from 5 to 10 starters. And I'm thinking at the minimum, you're taking 8 to 10 minimum. You're taking 8 to 10 transfer players in this next portal run. I think is going to be an active portal. Those are numbers, but let's kind of talk positions. What are you thinking?
How much time you got? Right now, these are the I kind of honed in on 1, 2, 3, 5 position groups, but more or less. So quarterback obviously is a big position of need. Secondary, wide receiver, and both lines of scrimmage. That's immediately where I went because this defensive line could lose its 3 best players. The secondary could lose both starting safeties right now and a starting quarter. The receiver room, I think there's going to be some turnover there. I think we could likely see some transfers out. Thank goodness Andrew Marsh, a true freshman, is coming in with high expectations. And on the offensive line, what more needs to be said?
Yeah, you better take 2 tackles, 2 cornerbacks, 55 burgers, 55 cokes, 55. We're gonna need a little bit of everything. 2 tackles, 2 cornerbacks. Grab a linebacker while you're in there. I mean, the quarterback thing goes without saying. 2 wide receivers. Like, go shopping this offseason. I think that we're going to need a lot. And I mean, it remains to be seen. There are some guys that could come back, like Rod Moore hypothetically could come back. Like things like that could really, really swing where we're at and what we need. But it's going to be a large amount, and I think we need to get starters, not just contributors. So great question.
Yeah. And as a little addendum to that as well, I mean, the development of the Sherrod Moore era is going to be tested next season because like 3 of the 5 on the offensive line can return right now as an Evan Lang, Giovanni El-Hadi, and Greg Crippen / Dom Gadis. And if they're not better next season, then my concern level is going to go through the roof with this program.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not going to get too crazy into the evaluation stuff this season. I think we mentioned we'll watch those rivalry games pretty closely. But yeah, if no one gets better next year when we come out, I mean, I'm pulling off to the side of the road and calling AAA. The car is breaking down.
And we're going to have a distressed assets episode coming out later this year where we look at some specific players from teams that we think could be hopping in the portal. One happened this week, actually. Donovan McCulley, the wide receiver at Indiana, is in the portal and has been contacted by Michigan. So watch out for that. But yeah, we're going to have a whole episode breaking down the names as well.
Yeah, I don't have any names yet. I still need to know like which coaches get fired before I can give you some names. And like we got our eyes. The vultures are kind of circling around Florida, places like that. Purdue, if you happen to want anybody from Purdue.
They have a good player in the secondary. I think it's safety, but I don't know if he graduates or not. And honestly, it's like when there is so much good football to watch, it's hard to be like, okay, tune in for Florida State.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a sicko, but come on now, I have morals.
Yeah, morals and also agenda, things to do. Second part of Olivia's question, top new movies I've seen this year, either an old movie or something that we've seen this year. We were just talking, not a movie, but we're both in on the Penguin, HBO, in on it. I think I maybe like it more than the Batman movie.
I do. I really don't like superhero stuff that much, as you know, but like
Yeah,
I
doesn't
saw
feel
the
like a superhero stuff.
no, not at all. Like when we both saw the Batman movie, and it was all right. It was,
Pretty good.
had some moments, had some down moments, but this show is not a superhero movie. It's like The Sopranos crossed with Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, just like you're in the muck on the rise. Like it feels so distant from anything superhero related. It's probably one of my favorite aspects of the show.
Yeah, it's gritty. It feels more like a character study. Definitely in on that. As far as movies, I still think the best of the year has been Dune 2. It's been kind of a down movie year for new stuff. Civil War was good. Still haven't seen Alien Romulus. Beetlejuice was surprisingly enjoyable. I do recommend that one. That had some good belly laughs in it. Last night I watched a movie called Blue Ruin, which is from like 2014. Won some awards, international awards. That was really good. I recommend that. But yeah, great question.
You're always better at the new movies than me, but I definitely want to throw in Long Legs. I
Long Legs.
loved Long
Yeah.
Legs. Great horror movie, great twist on
Good one.
everything in the genre. And another show, an older show that I watched for the first time this year that I think is the best written show of all time, and that's The Wire. Just like I'm still recovering a month from finishing it. It is just a fantastic show.
Chef's kiss. What a show. What a picture. What a picture. Let's go to the comments here. Lewis got a couple comments. Have we seen Avatar? Yes. Do I like Avatar? No, I do not. I don't know.
You described it as like it's nice to look at, but so is a screensaver. And like after a while, it's like you needed a little bit more story, but like visually, those components are there.
Beautiful. Yeah, visually beautiful. I just would like a little bit more as far as character development, story in my movies, and I don't find them. I don't like want to rewatch them. It's very escapism. Like all right, let's go to Pandora for 2.5 hours, and they're long, like 3 hours.
I think I also just harbor something deep inside of me for Cameron, like just doing these movies now. When you look at his earlier run and stuff, like it's like Aliens, the Terminator movies, True Lies, which I love. Like, why like I want more of those movies, at least just sprinkled in. So anytime I see an Avatar, I'm just thinking of like what I don't have. And I know comparison's the thief of joy, but it has stolen it for sure.
100%. Yeah. It's like the Robert Downey Jr. thing where he's like, I've just nothing but Iron Man movies, huh? That's all we're going to do. And like, what else could we get? And like, James Cameron
snuck in Oppenheimer and grabbed that Oscar. And we're so happy. And then all of a sudden he's like at the next comic call,
back.
Like, I'm back. And it's like, God, come on, man. No.
Oh man. Next question from Lewis. If the Indiana wide receiver commits to Michigan, does he have eligibility right away? As in like this season? No, that's not possible. But he would next year.
Yeah, correct. He's in the portal right now. I don't think anything can happen until after the semester.
Yeah.
I'm pulling up his.
That would be truly wild if we're just getting guys mid-season.
I know. Well, yeah, I think he redshirted this year to preserve his last year of eligibility. That's what it was. So he appeared in 4 games, just entered the portal, similar to the quarterback at UNLV, except Donovan McCulley really hasn't been a featured part of the offense this year for Indiana.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, we'll take him. We'll see who else opens up. Maybe we'll have our pick of the litter. Although if I'm a wide receiver in the transfer portal, I'm not exactly looking at Michigan's passing attack and salivating right now.
No, it's like, you like to block? Good. Come to Michigan.
Brother, I got a job for you. All right, next question from Joshua Hunley. We're obviously a bit disappointed about how this season is going so far. I like what I saw from Tuttle when he came in until the 2 turnovers. I'm assuming Tuttle's a guy going forward, but if he has the same issues moving the offense, do we go with Jaden Davis for the rest of the season? I feel like we see some other teams move young guys along. I get not wanting to throw them into the fire. Great question. I have waffled on this quite a bit, so I'm going to let you go first.
So at least 2 more games for Tuttle. At least 2 more. That gets you to 8. And then the final 4 he can play, and including the postseason, and preserve the red shirt. And that's the thing I am most concerned about. I don't want to waste any Jaden Davis potential on this season. Like, the offensive line's bad. There's so many issues. Like, save that. But that said, You get him in those last 4 games, see what he can do, and you keep the eligibility moving forward. I think you have it both ways, but you really want to be careful in balancing experience with scar tissue. Like, you don't want him to get out there and lose his confidence because it's very fragile right now. You want to build it up, keep it safe. But if you can get him in those games, be very smart with how you're calling the game and everything around that, then I think it would be nothing but advantageous for his future moving forward.
Yeah, for the most part, I agree. I'll go a little bit further and say I think he should probably start the bowl game. Definitely don't burn the red shirt. There's absolutely no
I think bowl games are free now. Eligibility doesn't count like in the postseason.
Well, then I add on to it even more. He should definitely start the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Like, why not? We have nothing to lose. Like, see what he's got. Maybe he's better under the big lights. If we're up healthy enough against Northwestern, yeah, throw him in there. But I don't think he should be thrown in and be asked to like lead meaningful minutes quite yet, just because there's no infrastructure around him. I was thinking about like what's going on with Drake May over at New England. It's basically the exact same situation. We all came, or like Patriots fans came into the season being like, I don't want to start Drake May. Like there's just not the offensive line around him. We're going to get him killed. We're going to ruin his confidence. But then as the season goes along, you see other people doing it, getting away with it that aren't in great situations. And the kid's doing all right, a la Jaden Daniels. And we're seeing some other guys moving along as freshmen, like Arch Manning and stuff. Dramatically different offensive line there for Arch Manning. And I think now we're starting to be like, okay, maybe I could see it a little bit. So yeah, for the bowl game, I'm there. And like next year, I think you need to play him a little bit, because if not, you need to go get a starter at quarterback in the transfer portal, to our earlier question.
It's one of those things where, like, if this season, finishes up and Michigan goes 8-4, but they win a bowl game with Jaden Davis and get to 9-4, that's a great season. Like where it's at right now and everything else, just 4-2 on each side of the bye week here. And then you have your future kind of starting to build, and then maybe some momentum in the transfer portal. You're feeling a lot better. This is one of those strange years at Michigan where, like, you and I have said this for years, that bowl games can be very important, especially for teams on the rise and trying to transition out of a certain period. And I think that is just going to be critical for the team this year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, man. And totally, your point about 9-4 with the Jaden Davis bowl game win is massive. Really well taken. Yeah, that would be a completely different. Like, how do you feel going off of that season and going into next season versus 8-5 with a bowl game loss, with Jack Tuttle getting knocked out and Alex Orji being ineffective, and you're just like, what are we doing next year? Do we need 2 transfer quarterbacks? Because like Alex Orji can come back, Jaden Denegal can come back, but Tuttle's got to be out of eligibility. There's just no way. Okay. Yeah, good. Some of these, it's getting ridiculous with like Cam Rising, and I'm like, Cam Rising's older than me. Like, what is he doing out there?
Is also getting beat up by water coolers. Like, I have just numerous questions about Cam Rising and his health moving forward. I'm very concerned about the young man. But absolutely. I mean, you think about how important the bowl game was in 2015 for Michigan. You get smoked by Ohio State at home in the final regular season game of the year, but then you go and just put a whooping on Florida. And how much better did you feel after that? Even not having the quarterback of the future at that time, just everything else around the team kind of coming together, you felt good about the direction.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it could be a huge springboard. And that's really when I want to see a lot of these young guys. And it'll be final opportunities for some guys, but like, I don't think Mason Graham would play in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and I wouldn't ask him to. Like, are you going to ask Will Johnson to? Those guys probably would, because that's who they are. But I think Jake Butt might tell him, be cautious about that. Yeah, just because you never know what could happen in that bowl game. And Mason Graham and Will Johnson, first round picks, lock it up. Like right now, if they stop playing right now, they'd still go first round. So I don't know who I'll be playing in that game. So great opportunity for some young guys to step up, but we're looking way ahead now. Still got a lot of ball. Bye week will be huge. And like maybe Jaden Davis can make a move in the bye week here. So I imagine, like you said, you give Tuttle at least 2 more starts, let him command the offense, but we're getting down to it. And in that back half, all you need is less than 4 games and he can still redshirt. So
exactly. I really just think it's about preserving the future. That's got to be the most important thing with Jaden Davis.
This question came not in our mailbag. This came last week online. I didn't get to it, and I think it's actually a pretty good question. Apologize that I don't remember the username, but they were asking like what they think maybe the development issues are in relation to like losing Ben Herbert, and if there could be a correlation between the Ben Herbert loss and maybe some of these younger players developing. And I was like, that's not a bad notion. Thought I'd at least pose it here.
I don't know if we'd see the return on that yet. That would be my thing. I don't know if we would see that yet. Justin Tress, I mean, has been Herbert's right-hand man, so I imagine it's a lot more of the same, but obviously it's not exactly the same. So there could be something there. I just think it's impossible to calculate what at this point.
Yeah, and some people pointed out injuries there. I'm not necessarily certain this has been any better or worse injury-wise than any normal year. It kind of feels like a normal year to me, injury-wise.
Yeah, I mean, we look back now with rose-tinted glasses, but like in 2021, Ronnie Bell goes out. I mean, other players. I mean, Nikai Hill-Green got banged up in 22, opened the door for Michael Barrett. Blake Corum gets hurt. Zach Center gets hurt. The Trevor Keegan revolving door on the offensive line in 2021. I mean, we had played 5 different guards against Nebraska that season. So, like, I don't think we can say anything right now, one way or the other.
Yeah, 2017, how many quarterbacks did we see early on? We had a bunch of stuff going on 2017 early on. Some of that was bad quarterback play, but then there was also the Wilton Spade injury, and Brandon Peters got knocked out. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on. So, yep, it happens. I kind of agree. I don't think you can really point to that yet and say what that's impacting, but it's something to keep an eye on. You would imagine Tress, like having learned under Herbert, would just basically be doing the exact same things he was doing. Why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that's a good one. All right. A couple questions here before we wrap up. Who do you think is leading for the Joe Moore Award? Saw today from M. Wolverine that Michigan was put on the Joe Moore Award midseason watch list. And unfortunately, I have eyes, so I know that that is not the case in reality.
The Joe Moore Award has lost all credibility. Like this is, it's like they just looked through the top rushing offenses and then they just like handpick based off like name and reputation. Like, oh, look at these Michigan rushing numbers. They must have a good offensive line. It's like, just I beg of you, please watch the games. Like it'll take you watch a third quarter. It's all you need. Just watch a third quarter. Pick anyone you want. It's ridiculous. If I had to pick an offensive line though, right now, I would say Texas. Best. I mean, it seems like kind of like a cop out to pick like the best team, but the way they handled Michigan's front and no other team has been able to handle Michigan's front makes me think that direction.
I would go Texas. Other ones that I've seen that I thought looked pretty good were like Iowa. Thought they looked pretty good. Ohio State's got a pretty good offensive line. Georgia, of course. Miami, they've at least got one absolute boss on that Miami offensive line. The left tackle's a beast.
Yeah, I don't like their offensive line though. They were struggling at times against like 3 rushers from.
I didn't watch
Cal last week. Like, so there's some issues there. Like it's one of those, like they have like that one star, but then the rest of it, it's like, oh God.
Yeah.
They just slide the other direction.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt watching Minnesota. I was like, all right, like there's Ariantre Ursay or whatever his name is, but the rest, I was kind of tepid, neither warm nor cold, so I spat it out.
It's just kind of like, oh, this is actually what I think of a Minnesota offensive line normally.
Yeah, normally just your basic run-of-the-mill Minnesota offensive line. Yeah, I'm with you. Texas is the best I've seen so far, the best that I've watched a full game of at least.
Yeah.
Next question here. First-round quarterbacks. How many do you think there are this year? Who's the first off the board? And if you were a GM, which one would you feel comfortable choosing?
I don't like this quarterback class. Like, I think I'm getting increasingly more cynical as I get older with quarterbacks because I know that historically they're a coin flip either way. And then you look at all of them and there's so many question marks. Like I don't feel certain with a lot of them. So unless I'm like the Giants, I don't know if I'm swinging on one this early. Like there's so many good like left tackles and other cornerstone pieces in this. I think Quinn Ewers is in my opinion, I think the best natural, like pure quarterback in college football, but he hasn't played an entire season due to injury. So I don't know what to do with that. I have issues with everybody else, but also, I mean, I guess that opens up the door for an argument for at least a handful of guys to be the top one taken. Who are you leaning towards?
I still lean Shedeur Sanders. I don't necessarily love Shedeur Sanders, the person or the antics, but the creep can ball, man. I believe we have a bet going from last year that I said he is a first-round quarterback. I forget. We'll have to go back and dig up exactly what was said. But
I said he's not going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. That was my
okay. I still think he can be because he does a lot of the NFL things. Runs around back there, keeps his head downfield, and can just do feats of athleticism, that really you can't really explain with X's and O's and arm angles and all that stuff. He's just good at it. He's just makes stuff happen out there. So I would take that chance, especially if I were like the Giants or if I were like Miami or Cleveland, like where you kind of have an infrastructure that could handle him. Like New York, I don't know, like bringing him to New York on a bad team. I don't know if I like that, but like bringing him to an established culture where you can be like, yeah, that was all fun and games, but your dad's not here now. Like you're part of a program. Like you need to be a teammate. Can you be a leader? Maybe that'd work. But yeah, Ewers would be my number 2. And then I have a pretty big gap after that.
It's so weird. And I love Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings head coach, is his quote a couple weeks ago saying that organizations fail first round quarterbacks more than quarterbacks fail organizations. I think that's critical in this draft. I mean, landing spot is more important than ever. I was listening to a Daniel Jeremiah podcast this week, and they were talking about how Garrett Nussmeier is really moving up boards, but he could also come back for another year at LSU and be the top quarterback in that one. I think if I had to go with one off the top of my list, I would still go Carson Beck. I really liked the way he bounced back in the second half against Alabama. And did you see his stat line this week, the game after?
No.
It was 20 for 20.
Wow.
I love seeing him face that kind of adversity. Now, the Bama defense leaves a lot to be desired, but has the prototypical frame, plays in that style of offense. He's going to be expected to run at the NFL. So, gun to head, if I had to pick a first-round quarterback, it would be Carson Beck.
Yeah, what about Jalen Milroe, the other one that I've seen in some mock drafts, which I guess depending on the system you're running, like if you're going to take Anthony Richardson, I guess you could take Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is a better passer than Richardson was coming out.
I would have stayed away from either. Anthony Richardson can't stay healthy for God's sakes. Just see if he can finish the season, but I'd stay away from either of them. You'd have a better chance of talking me into Shedeur Sanders for sure. Cam Ward, if he could just stop being so damn erratic. It's like sometimes, like if you watch like 3 straight drives, you're like, this is the best quarterback I've seen all season. And then you're going to watch the next 3 and you're like, who is letting him play? Why are you on the field? Like he just makes so many dumb decisions. But again, you see the passing talent, and that can be very enticing for the right team that has the infrastructure around to kind of corral him and just kind of coach the crazy out of him.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird year because I think I would set the over under at like 3.5 first round quarterbacks. I think they're going to go, whether or not they should go. I don't know. But I mean, I think there's enough like Will Levis level. It's worth taking a shot talents that there's going to be quite a few that go. Exactly. I used that example on purpose. Lewis in the chat asked, do we think Deion's at Colorado next year? It's going to happen eventually that he's out of there, whether by the carrot or the stick. I don't know if it's next year because Shedeur will be gone. Shiloh will be in prison.
That was good. That was good by you.
I don't know where Shiloh's going to be, but he deserves to be in prison. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm just not a huge fan. I'm a CU alum. I just don't like the some of the shenanigans there. I mean, but maybe I'm just old school.
No, I'm in complete agreement with you. I think you see the baggage that comes with it. So maybe like another school on the same level of Colorado, maybe like a lateral move, just somewhere else that just needs a boost in that direction. Because you and I think, kind of talking ourselves into Kurt Cignetti ending up at Florida next year, probably an SEC school, taking that next step up. But you look around at other jobs and it's like, okay, could Deion go here? Could he go there? I don't know what's going on with like, oh man, there's going to be some moves in the ACC with jobs that open up. There's going to be some moves that open. I mean, you and I've heard rumors of Florida State want to move on for Norvell. And I mean, that would be
crazy.
I know there's issues there with Deion and his alma mater, but I think he has at least another year at Colorado, but it wouldn't surprise me. And you put it best, man. I think eventually it's going to come crashing down. Shout out to Lewis. It's going to come crashing down eventually one way or another. I mean, this team, they won 4 games last year. They have 4. They have 4 right now, so trending in the right direction. A bowl win, a bowl appearance would be massive for them because honestly, they would get smoked in it because I don't think Shedeur or Travis Hunter would play. But getting to a bowl for them, getting to 7, 8 wins would be just a massive step in the right direction. Really get that hype train back going for Deion, regardless of what you or I think of the way it's been built.
Yeah. And I mean, you can't deny the amount of money that he's brought into Boulder and to local businesses and the hype that he's brought to the school. And we were awful. CU was awful for years, and now like they're at least, if nothing else, relevant and probably have 2 first-round draft picks. That is something. So like it looks like he has done that part of the job. I just don't know what his goals are. Like where does he want to be? Does he see himself as like the head coach at Texas A&M, or does he think he's the head coach of the Cowboys? Because I'm not certain how great of a program builder he is. I think he's a great recruiter and like I don't even know what the word would be. He's like an overseer of talent, like an observer of talent. Like he just has incredible talent there. But like you and I just don't like the way they built the offensive line, the swapping guys out, the no loyalty. Some of the stories from stuff going on in the locker room was
That
downright.
Athlon report this summer was damning.
That's more what I'm referring to is that Athlon report, where it was like just horrendous stuff going on in the locker room and off the field. So yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. We've got our own coaching situation to kind of worry about this offseason at Michigan, but don't really know where Dion will end up. Anything else that you wanted to touch on before we get out of here? Any other last questions from anybody in here?
No, maybe Dion just wants to spend his remaining years with what toes he has left, you know? I want to ask you a couple games for this weekend before we close. Which way you leaning? Ole Miss at LSU at night. Who you got?
I want to say Ole Miss, but Brian Kelly always does this where there's like you kind of waver on Brian Kelly and then he brings you back around and gets to 8-9 wins. I'll take LSU in a tough one. Garrett Nussmeier trending the right direction. I'll take LSU in that one. Who you got?
I'm with you. Tiger Stadium at night is one of the best environments in college football as well. So I love that being very hard place to play. Another game for you. Undefeated, number 11, Iowa State at WVU, 8 p.m. in Morgantown. Who you got?
I haven't watched much Iowa State. Just Iowa State was the only one that I caught little bits of that. But I know that their offense has got like some really well-established guys. They're an older team. So I'm going to go with the vets of Iowa State in Morgantown there.
I'm going to go WVU with the upset. I think they're
nice.
due to swing one this year. They just smacked Oklahoma State last week, so they got a lot of momentum, and I like them at home and at night. Another good game on the slate. There's several. Arizona at undefeated BYU. This is going to be an offensive clash. Can't wait to watch it. Who you got?
Yeah, I have watched a little bit of Arizona, and I didn't like a lot of what I saw. It seems like it's just a 2-man operation, similar to Colorado. So I'm going to go with BYU there.
Oh, I'm with you as well. The Mormons are rolling. 2 more. Red River, Texas at Oklahoma. Or I'd say at Oklahoma. It's in the Cotton Bowl. Texas, Oklahoma. Who you got?
Texas and the cover if Ewers plays.
Yeah, and I think it's two touchdowns. I think it's high, and I'm with you. Last one. Penn State at USC.
I almost went the upset here. I was looking at this one. I think USC has what it takes to pull this upset. It's not quite the home field advantage of like, if that were going to Oregon, say, or like USC played in an environment like Oregon's, I would take them, but I don't think USC's and it's during the day, right? It's like not even at night in LA. Yeah. 3:30 game. Give me Penn State.
I think I'm with you as well. You can get a ticket there for as low as $21 for that game.
It's just not a football town. It's just not.
No. Also, crazy stat: Lincoln Riley's last 7 starting quarterbacks are all starting this weekend in the NFL.
Not bad.
No, because Spencer Rattler just got named the starter for the Saints this week, so officially all of his guys are starting. I mean, almost a fourth of the league.
That's insane. Why aren't they better?
That's the thing. I mean, those Mayfield teams are nasty. I mean, I think it was the Rose Bowl game against Georgia, the double overtime game. That game was awesome. But then ever since then, it's just been kind of hard for him to mount a defense. Kind of meh. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks for everyone that submitted the mailbag questions. Thanks for Lewis for dominating the comment section in this one. Yeah. Our guy. We will be back normal time next week. We've got a special guest. We're bringing on Zach from the Big Ten Huddle, I believe is the name of the podcast. Yeah, it's a good podcast. I should know the name. I've listened to it several times. So we'll be talking all Big Ten, do some like mid-season awards, things like that. And I'm sure we'll be back next Thursday to preview. Who do we got coming out of the bye? Oh, I know who we got. Rib God, baby. I know who we got. I am so nervous for that. So we'll be back. Are we about to get basted? He's currently basting us right now. We're in the fridge right now. It's gonna be a 2-week baste. Oh,
man.
God.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and wherever you go, go blue. See ya.